Welcome back to 843 TV here at the City Planning Hall in downtown Beaufort. Stephen, let's start with you on this one. You're a former Chamber of Commerce member and also a local businessman. What do you see as the best ways to attract new businesses to the area?
Well, that's a great question because we are dependent on a strong commercial and business base in our community. And there's a lot of debate about how government should be involved in the commercial sector and in the private sector. But I think government absolutely sets the table for a strong business community. So I think first and foremost, we really have to look at our regulatory permit and licensing framework to make sure that we're communicating our expectations with business owners as clearly as possible and making it as easy as possible for them to do business with us. The two biggest constraints in business are time and money. And so when you're costing a business owner time and or money, there can be sort of the frustration factor that sets in. So the city is currently in looking at all of our regulatory framework, how we can lower some of the burdens, how we can communicate more effectively, how we can move things online. So for instance, we're trying to get our business licensing online, so a business owner can now go from the comfort of their home and apply for their business license. After that, I think there's four main areas we need to look at when trying to grow the business community. One is incubation and acceleration. So if we have folks in our community who have really great ideas or products that they'd like to develop, we need to have the resources in our community to help foster and grow those ideas. The next is retention. We have a lot of great businesses that operate in our community. They've been here for a very long time. We need to make sure that, again, they have the tools in place, that they are healthy and strong and growing if they want to. And so expansion, making sure that there are incentives in place, that we're paying enough attention that when they do expand, we can give them the tools they need so that they don't go somewhere else. And finally, recruitment strategy. So for businesses who are looking to relocate, making sure that we are marketing our area and our resources and our products effectively, and that we have staff and the systems in place to get those folks here, shepherd them through our processes, and hopefully are successful at getting them to make Beaufort home.
Gotcha. Good.
We've been doing a lot to try to change the culture on the regulatory side. There are certain state, federal, and local regulations that have to be followed, but it's our staff who knows them, and rather than being blocking tackles and saying you can't do this, we're trying to get them to be quarterbacks and shepherd projects. One of the things John does very well with the Redevelopment Commission, will go in with a prospect and try to work them through the maze. Just last week, a fascinating session where we brought all of our regulatory staff into one table and had about a 3-hour conversation about what could be done to break down the barriers. We're not going to give away the store. We're not going to sacrifice our historic landmark district. We're not going to sacrifice our waters, our streams, our traffic, and create more congestion. But the bottom line is we do know the rules, and our staff is in a point now where they ought to be leading people through the process rather than creating the hurdles around which they have to run. And I think that's working. Our new city manager is very, very user-friendly, and he's taking a lead, again, with John on sort of shepherding projects through rather than letting people have to guess.
Yeah, and the good news is we have a lot of projects. We have a lot of people interested in Beaufort these days. And I think that, historically, we haven't had this kind of activity in years, especially with larger projects coming in, and I think that's a huge opportunity for us. We haven't mentioned the Commerce Park, but that is an important part of Beaufort's opportunity. And you look at the development of Boeing and Charleston, the new Volvo plant going in north of Charleston, Gulfstream Aerospace in Savannah. There's smaller contractors who are going to need places to go, and frankly, those major companies would prefer not to have their smaller contractors competing for labor.
Right.
And so if we can have a wonderful, and we have a great place for them, and we have an ideal setup for smaller companies to come in here and grow. Mm-hmm. And it's a very important part of our overall strategy, I think. And we are seeing the activity, and it's a hopeful time.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Industry brings industry.
Sure.
And I think many people don't realize that Lockheed Martin is in the city of Beaufort today, right, with several hundred employees. The challenge is that they're sort of hidden and protected behind the gates of the air station. in some cases for security reasons, but we're hoping we can draw them out because there will be people who are their suppliers. And if they're out and they're more public, we're hoping that the Commerce Park can bring in some of these small companies. A large number, Stephen will give you the statistic, but a very large number of these supply chain companies are blossoming in South Carolina, 5 to 7 people, you know. And if we can get Lockheed to come outside of the gate and be a little more public so that people know they're here, then we're going to have either local people with the initiative to try to become suppliers, or we're going to have some of the 700 plus or minus small aeronautic suppliers who might come to the state to be closer to Lockheed, to be closer to the people to whom they sell.
Yeah, and that's what's, I think, very exciting, right? What's happening all around us. So when you look at Savannah, you've got Gulfstream, who's have an expanding presence. You've got Boeing in Charleston, who again has an expanded presence. Over the next 20 years, Boeing has over $4 trillion in orders. You've got Lockheed Martin with the F-35 on base. The USC School of Business did an economic impact study on military and civilian aviation in South Carolina last year. And they found, to add to the mayor's point, that over 70% of the aviation aerospace firms in South Carolina are actually 5 employees or less,
Wow.
with an average wage of $70,000 a year. These are very small, very specialized, highly innovative firms. They could be anywhere. They can be in second floors on Bay Street. They could be in old retail centers. And they naturally want to be closer to their bigger customers. So we just need to target those folks and get them here. And I think we can be successful. And we've been doing some fact finding over the last 10 months as we put our program together.
And there's some talent pool here who have some natural or technology and aviation experience in the Marine Corps Air Station. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, so we got to take another commercial break, but we'll be back with one more segment of 843 TV.